Hey guys, welcome back to another video about what's happening here with the Salt Lake City, Utah real estate market. We're going to cover a lot that's happening out there in the market today. We've seen interest rates go up, they've come down, they've gone back up, they've been all over the place, the market's been all over the place, but we have some really exciting things to talk about with where the market's going into 2024. What's up you guys, my name's Cody Steck. Welcome back to another video. We're here in the home office filming some of our next videos, so I hope you enjoy the new set here. We're going to jump on my computer and talk about some of the statistics that we're seeing out there in the market right now, and also talk about where the market's headed. This is going to be a very volatile year. We've got an election year coming up. Of course, everybody's talking about that, even though I feel like we all don't want to talk about it, but we do have that coming up this year. We also are expecting some interest rate drops, although I don't think that it's going to be played out the way that most people think it is. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give my opinion on that scenario along the way. And then we're also going to talk about what's going to happen with interest rates, or excuse me, with real estate prices here along the Wasatch Front, as well as across the state of Utah in different price points. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on my screen here. As always, guys, as we do that, if you're thinking about making a move here, or you already live here and you want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, please reach out to me. Call, text, or email anytime. I love hearing from you guys and cannot wait to hear from you about your upcoming move and how I can help make that a reality. So with that said, let's jump on my screen here and talk a little bit about what's happened with the market over the last month or so. So I just put out a real estate market update video not too long ago. We're going to zoom in a little bit here. We're taking a look at January 2024. So we ended up the month, this is across all home types, all home sales for the month. We had 2,162 home sales compared to last year. We had 2,009. So home sales were actually up just a little bit, maybe about 5% or so. Now, as far as prices actually go with this data, we're actually sitting a little bit higher this year as compared to last year as well. January 2023, we had a median listing price of $490 with sales prices at $455, giving us a 93% sales price to list price ratio. That's very important. If you've seen my other videos, you'll know that that ratio is very critical. This year, we're at January 2024. We had a 97% ratio with a $500,000 median list price and sales prices at $485. So homes are not being negotiated on as aggressively as they were a year ago today. We're seeing that, roughly on average, you're going to be able to negotiate about 3% off of the home on an average sale. However, that's not going to be every single home. I've actually been very surprised with the strength of the market over the last couple of weeks. I've had tons of people reaching out from these videos. Thank you to you. You know who you are, who's reached out in the recent past. Tons of people reaching out. Lots of people jumping back into the market. Interest rates have come down. Now they're actually back up. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But interest rates are coming down from where they were just a couple of months ago. So I think that's giving people the confidence to move back into the market. We're also seeing the stock market at all-time highs, and people are generally feeling better about the direction of the economy. Inflation's down, so people are just having a lot more confidence out there, and this is causing people to jump into the market. 4 of the last 5 offers that I've made on property have run into multiple offers. So although I just said, hey, you can negotiate up to 3% off of the listing price, that does not mean that that's going to be every home out there. Right now, what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of inventory, a lot of homes that have been sitting on the market for 3 months, 6 months, even 9 months, and they're just not moving because frankly, they're overpriced. And then on the flip side, we're seeing new listings come to the market that are priced fairly, they're priced accurately, they're in a great neighborhood, and they've got great features, and people are jumping on those new listings. There's lots of buyers out there in the market waiting for those perfect homes to pop up, and as soon as they do, it's not uncommon to get multiple offers. So the market is really in a black or white situation. You're either sitting on the market because you're overpriced and you've got a home that's frankly not very desirable, or you've got a home, you list it, it sells right away, and you're going to get top dollar still for that home based on today's market. It's not going to be top dollar. It's not like you're hitting record sales prices necessarily, but you are going to get top dollar based on where the market's at today. So let's take a look at where the market's actually headed into February, and then we'll talk a little bit more about interest rates and what's going to happen with those interest rates. Should we see these cuts coming that everybody's talking about? I don't know. I'm still trying to get the binoculars out looking for those interest rate cuts because I personally don't think they're coming. But before we do that, let's jump in here and take a look at February data so far. So we're filming this here on February 6th. We had 308 home sales so far. Last year, February 2023, we had 2,584. So you can see that the market really jumps up substantially during these first couple months of the year. We went from 2,000 sales to 2,500 to 3,300 sales before dipping here in April. April typically doesn't dip. If we go back to 2022, it will be at least the same as March, if not even a little bit higher. 2022 is very steady between these 2 months. So having this dip right here in April 2023 is a little bit abnormal. We'll have to wait and see what happens going into this spring. I think it's going to be a very volatile time, and I think there's going to be some opportunities actually for both buyers and sellers going into this market. But so far, median list price is up just slightly, about $10,000 right here, and sales price is up slightly as well. I do expect this number to climb. We'll probably be sitting in that $490,000 to $500,000 range for at least the next couple months, maybe even creeping over $500,000 $100,000 on a median sales basis. We're sitting right here at 96%, and also days on market is higher, right? If you look back here, 34, 35, 40, 46, that's what this last column is here. Median days on market. For the month of February, we're already at 63, which is higher. I do expect that number to come down as we move towards the end of the month, but very, very interesting information. Again, like I said, it's kind of a black and white scenario where you're seeing a lot of homes sit on the market for months and months and months, and then you're seeing other homes that are selling in just a couple of days, maybe a week or two at most. So very black and white market right now. Let's take a look at what's happening in the luxury market. I've had some requests for this video, actually. You know who you are if you're watching this video. I've had some requests for what's happening in the real estate market in the luxury price range. So we're going to take a look at that right now. I do actually get a lot of people who reach out, and I do sell a lot of these homes that are going to be $1 million plus. You know, here in Utah, that's going to be considered $1 million plus. And so let's take a look at what's happening in that market specifically, because it is much different than what you'll see across the rest of the board. So I'm going to come in here. We're actually going to do this. We're going to come in here. We're going to choose a list price of $1 million. That's going to be our minimum. And for county, we're actually going to exclude Summit and here we go, Summit and Wasatch County. Now, the reason why I'm doing that is because that's where Park City area is going to be located, and that's also going to skew the results wildly. If we include those areas, that's a completely different market. I'm not going to cover that here in this market. I do sell in Park City. I do have homes for sale up there. I do help buyers buy homes up there, but I do want to exclude that for this data set right here because it's going to skew the numbers drastically if we leave that in there. So I'm excluding the Park City area, but this is going to include everything else across the state that's over $1 million. Looking back at January 2024, 112 home sales, basically flat month over month. But looking at compared to last year, we had 83 home sales in January as opposed to 112 here. So it's up pretty substantially. That's almost like maybe 25%. Sales prices, the median list price has come down, 1.45 million right here, as opposed to 1.4 right here. And we've got sales prices down substantially as well. Now, this is a median basis. So last year, we're looking at 1.319, and then it dropped substantially to 1.23. So it really depends on how many homes are selling and which homes are selling during that month, right? When we're only pulling from a data set of 100 homes, there could be, one or two homes that are listed at $10 million that sell that could skew these numbers pretty drastically. So it really depends on what you're looking at. But the important thing is to kind of look at the overall trend, right? We were at 1.293, 263, 229. Right here in January, we jumped up substantially, but then fell back down. So I actually think this is probably just a little bit skewed based on some of the sales we saw. This ratio is roughly the same between January and February. So we could probably really safely assume that most of the homes were selling here in this like 1.25 to 1.28. I think that number is probably a little bit high, even though that's what the number says. Looking at this year, we had a median sales price of 1.2 million in January, which is 86% of the median list price, right? So you got a property, just average property listed at 1.4 million. It's going to sell for 1.2. That's a huge drop. In fact, I think that's probably the lowest number that we'll see here on this ratio. Going back here to the median sales price to original list price, lots of these are, in the 90s. This one's here at 86. So very interesting to see that. I do expect that number is going to climb substantially going into the spring. Already for the month of February, we're at 93%. I think we'll probably close out the month somewhere between 94 and 95% for the month of February. And I wouldn't be surprised to see March, April, May be closer to 95 to 97%, maybe even hitting 98% as we get into summer. I would not be surprised to see that because I think that there's a lot of people jumping into the market. Like I said, stock market is at an all-time high. There's lots of people who are buying these $1 million plus homes who have large amounts of their net worth in the stock market. They're feeling good. They're saying, hey, the SPY, the S&P, just hit 5,000. Things are looking good. And, in a really good spot. Inflation's down. The market's doing good. We've got an election year, which is not necessarily always great, but generally the overall market does pretty good in these election years, although there is a lot of uncertainty. And, we're trudging forward. Inflation's down. Things are looking good. Maybe that recession is not coming after all. So let's actually take a look at what's happening with interest rates. I do think this is very, very important. I've covered this a lot on previous videos, so we're going to kind of just jump ahead here. I want to point out that we had 8% interest rates in October of last year. So even just 4 or 5 months ago, really like 3 or 4 months ago, we were looking at 8% interest rates. They did fall substantially. I remember making a video right here on December 14th when these interest rates dropped all the way down to 6.62%. It was almost a 0.5% drop from right here to right here. And that was a substantial drop at that time, considering rates were hovering around this 7% range. Since then, they've actually climbed back up, came back down to about 6.63% last week, and then had a huge spike up right here. So these are interest rates. These are not necessarily tied to the Fed funds rate. This is not tied to, the rest of the economy necessarily, but this gives you an indicator of what investors are willing to issue loans at based on what they think the future is going to hold with those interest rates. So these mortgage rates right here are really tied to the 10-year treasury, which is not something you really need to know about. If you know what that is, you'll know what it is. If you don't know what it is, it doesn't really matter. The important thing here is that the interest rates that are offered on mortgages are going to be different than what the government offers on the Fed funds rate. So right now we're sitting at roughly 7%. So they have climbed back up actually to where we were in early December, right? So I think this is going to cause the market to slow down just a little bit over the next couple of weeks. Maybe those interest rates come back down. If we can get them back down to 6.75, maybe 6.5%, I think that's going to cause a big boom in the market. We're going to see more people jump in going into the spring, and that's just going to cause the market to continue to, pick up some speed, right? And whether you're a buyer or a seller, that's going to depend on whether that's a good thing or a bad thing for you. So again, it always comes down to your own individual situation. If you're thinking about making a move here, reach out to me, call, text, or email anytime. I love hearing from you guys. My information is here on the screen once more. Please reach out to me. Let's talk about your individual situation and see how I can help through that process. The next thing I want to talk about is how interest rates are actually, everybody's expecting interest rates to be cut. Everybody's thinking that interest rates are going to come down over the next little bit. And I'm not too optimistic. People are expecting the Fed to cut rates in March. I don't know that that's actually going to happen. I do think there's a chance that it could happen, but I'm currently in a position where I'm thinking, hey, the market's doing pretty good. The stock market's at all-time highs. Unemployment is down, inflation's down. People are feeling pretty good about the stock market and the economy overall. GDP is good. Of course, there's problems. There's never going to be, a perfect scenario, but overall things are going pretty good. And that's with interest rates where they're at right now. So I don't want to necessarily say that, hey, we should just leave them where they're at, but I don't think that we should be so optimistic either about the interest rates coming down anytime soon. I do think we'll probably get some interest rate cuts, but I don't think it's going to be as soon or as substantial as a lot of people are thinking. So that's just my personal opinion. You might have an opinion. It maybe is the same, maybe it's different. I don't know. I'm just sharing my opinion here on this video because I see a lot of optimism. I remember people saying a year ago, 18 months ago, saying, oh, interest rates are going to come down in the back half of 2023. It's a sure thing. And here we are in February 2024, and maybe we get an interest rate cut in March, right? So I think a lot of people underestimate how long it takes these things to actually impact the market and how long it takes for the higher interest rates to really filter down through the entire economy, right? It's a very big process. There's a lot of moving parts, and I think a lot of people underestimate how long that takes. So should we have some interest rate cuts? I do think that will be helpful. I do think it would be good for the economy overall, but I don't think that we should personally drop them substantially back down to where they were back in the, low enough to where the interest rates on these mortgages get down to 3%, 4%. I think somewhere probably in the 5% range is pretty good. And it's probably a healthy number, at least at this point in time. The last thing I want to mention is if you're looking for a loan right now, going out there, even though these interest rates are saying 7%, I have been seeing local regional banks actually offer mortgage rates closer to 6%. So the last couple loans that I've had clients lock in, they've been closer to 6%, some just under 6%, others just above 6%. And that's kind of seems to be where the market's at right now. So even though this is saying 7% on here, we are seeing lower interest rates through local regional banks, which leads me to believe that they have a little bit more confidence in the market and where the market's headed, and they're willing to offer a little bit more of an aggressive rate in order to keep that business flowing, keep lending the money, and keep things going. So just something I wanted to throw in there. If you're looking at making a move here, please reach out, call, text, or email. Or if you already live here and you want to sell a home, buy a home, invest in real estate, please reach out, call, text, or email. My information is here on the screen. I love hearing from you guys. Let's talk about your individual situation. And with that said, guys, we'll catch you in the next one.